Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with another Motivation and Mindset Monday, one of my favorite shows of the week. I oftentimes feel that I'm writing these shows and I'm recording these shows more for myself than anybody else, but I am happy to see that when I look at who is listening to what shows the most, the Mindset and Motivation Monday, believe it or not, 3 out of 4 weeks a month is actually the most popular. So out of all 7 shows each and every week, at least 3 out of 4 weeks, it is the Mindset and Motivation Monday, which is kind of funny because in the very beginning of the Cabral concept, when I was coming up with the different days of the week, the mindset motivation for Monday, the wellness-based topic for a Tuesday, body transformation, because it's so important. Obviously, a lot of people care about it, but just for your overall health, longevity, wellness, I've tried to talk about this. It's just vitally, vitally important, and one of the best ways to stave off all of the top causes of mortality, so you can live a long, healthy, happy life. And then on Thursdays, it was always exercise, and now it's morphed into toxicity, and it's morphed into longevity. Friday was always our fun, eclectic show, which is going over product reviews, a lot of things that I love, research, of course, and the weekends is dedicated to answering your questions. So that's kind of how I formed it in the beginning, and it's always stayed that way for about the last 5-6 years. But I never in a million years believed that the Mindset Motivation Monday would be the top show. I knew that it's something I love to talk about, so I wanted to share it with others. But even a lot of my colleagues said, why just use that show for another health topic a week or answering someone's question? But the truth was that what I found in my practice now over 20 years is that you can share with someone exactly what to do. Like you can literally give them a plan. This is what's going to help you get well or lose the weight or live longer. But it doesn't mean that they're always going to follow it, which is really interesting when you look at that. You can give them the exact plan, but for whatever reason, they may or may not believe it or believe in you or believe in themselves or believe in the plan, or just they can't follow through with it for one reason or another. And that's a big reason why we created IHP Mastery, which is the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. The highest level that you can achieve is IHP Mastery, which is not just knowing the de-stress protocol that I talk about in the rain barrel effect. And it's not just knowing how to read labs and make recommendations for protocols. It's actually saying, okay, now that you know all that, and it should absolutely help your clients get well, what happens when a client is not in compliance with their protocol for one reason or another? What do you do? This client needs your help. They need you to help them get to the finish line. They came to you for this reason. They haven't been successful in the past. How are you going to be the one that helps them, right? So that's really what it's about. And Mindset and Motivation Monday is one way to help people get to that goal. And so that's just what I wanted to share with you right now. Today's topic came about in 2 ways. So it's always from my real life. And the first one was I read a quote. So I don't know who this Australian author is, but the initials are FM and then it's Alexander. I'm sure many of you will, especially maybe if you're from Australia. We have many of our global health communities in Australia. And the quote was this: people do not decide their future. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. I mean, that's a pretty amazing quote. And so that stopped me. I love quotes. That one stopped me in my tracks because, I've always believed this for many, many years. I've said it in many, many different ways, but this is a very eloquent way of saying it. And I think that most people can relate. People do not decide their futures. Okay. So what are they saying? People do not decide their futures. A lot of people set goals, right? A lot of people want to do big things. They feel they have a lot of potential, but those goals do not decide their future. It's very interesting, right? Even your vision for yourself does not decide your future. Instead, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. And that's what I'd like to share with you here today. Because my daughters are back in school, obviously with the pandemic and all that, there was a lot of online education going on for colleges, for high schools, and for little ones as well, like my 2 daughters, although they are getting older. And I can't say that for too much longer. But here's the thing. We had to get into a more rigid routine in order for them to be able to accomplish everything they needed to with a long school day and a fair commute. We always used to take, I think, for granted the 5-minute commute we had to my daughter's school. I would literally, my wife or I would walk them to school It took about 5 minutes, and I would walk them. I would then walk to my Boston office 5 minutes away, and that was a pretty privileged life right there, right? That we kind of didn't fully understand how amazing that was. And that has changed, and so is life, right? So is life. But now they have a real routine they have to be in, and there's after school activities or all those things. And so now they're finding themselves having to do homework later at night. So we try to get that done before dinner. Sometimes on a after school activity where it goes right up until dinner time, well, we need to get a little bit done after dinner. So I'm working with my oldest daughter, and this was actually just a couple nights ago, and I enjoy math. And so I was just helping her with her math, and she was complaining up and down, left and right about how she wasn't going to be able to do it, couldn't do it. And I said, this can't be coming out of my daughter's mouth. This does not sound like the words that I want her to be thinking. So once I just calmed her down for a moment, I said, listen, every time that you've said this before, you've been able to figure it out and do it, right? And she didn't want to admit it, this, that. And I said, I just want to help you with the first one. And I want to show you just a little trick, because there's a trick to everything, right? It's the formula, the blueprint that I always talk about. There's always a formula. There's always a blueprint. And the only reason things are hard is, one is they just take time, right? But the other reason is you just don't know exactly yet how to do it. And so just chatting with her, letting her go through a little bit of her complaining and all of that, I said, okay, in all of the time that we are spending complaining, you could literally be done with your homework. And so you can see like she was getting it, but not wanting to get it. I said, let's just do the first one. So I show her the first one, and she's like, oh, I can do that. And so I say, okay, well, there's 7 more. There's 8 total problems for you. Show me how to do the next one. Take your time. Show me how to do the next one. So she goes through 3 or 4, no problem. She's like, oh, I'm getting tired. I don't want to do anymore. My hand's cramping, all these different excuses, right? We all have these excuses, not just for kids. We could come up with our own. I'll share with one of mine in just a moment. But I said, listen, again, you only have to write when it's time to write. Don't hold your pencil so tightly. And all this time we are spending, we just spent 5 minutes complaining, you could have been done with the next few problems. So let's just do it. So we went through that back and forth. And at the end, I gave her a high five. I said, congrats, you did a great job. You figured it out. Do you see how it wasn't necessarily as difficult as you thought it may be? I want you to remember that the next time you have to do homework and you don't feel like you're able to figure out the problems or whatever it might be, ask for one example, and I really believe that you're going to be able to take it on your own. I said, but a bigger takeaway is this. With all the time that you don't want to do things in life, because it will come again, with all the time you spend complaining about it, if you simply got started, you'd be done with whatever you didn't want to do by the time you're all done complaining, right? So I've had to take this same advice myself many times. A lot of you have heard me talk about doing running, right? So basically running. I love going to the gym. I really do. I honestly do. I would like to go to the gym and lift weights 5 days a week. I shared with you just about a month or 6 weeks ago why that's not the best thing for my body. It really, again, I have this very strange nervous system, and it can get worn out fairly easily. Again, I keep my body healthy. I have tons of energy. I'm strong. I sleep well. All of those things, right? So I don't want to make it seem like I'm, falling apart over here. But a lot of my body and straining, because I like to push myself, lifting weights and all that, better done 3 days a week. So for me, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. But I want to stay in a rhythm. I work so much better if I do something every day rather than I only have to do it like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I really do. I've been doing a lot of things in my life, especially the beginning of this year, just every single day, just every day doing it, because it's easier for me to stay in a routine because the alarm is the same time. My body gets kind of in that rhythm. So, okay. So I know though that I should be doing cardio anyways, not weight training in the gym. I should be doing cardio. Why? It's one of 2 factors that improves heart rate variability more than I've seen in anything in my practice with everyone. I've been talking about this quite a bit on Instagram. I gave you basically 2 factors. One of those factors is cardio. It has been shown to dramatically improve telomere length and or produce more telomerase, which is an enzyme that helps repair or keep those telomeres long on the ends outside of the or end tips of the DNA, which is great for longevity and aging and mitochondrial health. So there's that, but again, bottom line is this: aerobic-based cardio, which I put down for many years in the late '90s and the early 2000s as a young personal trainer. That I didn't see the benefit because it didn't really transform your body in the same way that weight training and high intensity interval training did, which, by the way, is true. But we're talking about the external, and I'm also talking about the internal. Well, weight training does not transform the internal the same as the aerobic-based training. You need both. You really do. So anyway, aerobic-based training is not my favorite type of exercise. If you put me inside on a treadmill, I am just bored. I mean, literally to fatigue. I'm bored to fatigue after a mile, which means like I just run a mile inside on a treadmill. I just can't do it for whatever reason. I've heard too that I'm not the only one. Now you put me outside, I can run 3 miles without even just turning around and be like, oh, what time is it? It's just so dramatically different. So I get outside to run as often as I can, basically every Tuesday and Thursday if the weather's okay. And what I've realized is this, though, that I have the same complaining and not wanting to do something and whatever it is, if it's something that I just don't want to do. But the problem is this: there are many things in life that we do want that are on the other side of a little bit of work. So if I want to stay in shape, if I want to improve my HRV, which allows me to deal with stress to a much greater level, better sleep repair, better immunity, so many other factors, overall longevity, well, then I should be doing some aerobic-based cardio, right? We all should 2-3 days a week. So if I want those things, the wellness, the body transformation, to stay lean, and I want the longevity, then I want to be doing some aerobic-based cardio. But that doesn't mean I want to do the cardio, right? That does not mean that. So what I do is I do it anyway because I want what's on the other side of that. And that is consistent-based aerobic work leading to wellness, body transformation, and anti-aging based goals. That's my goal, right? And here's the interesting thing. As much as I complain about doing it, every time I just put on my sneakers, put on my headset, listen to a podcast, some comedy, or whatever, YouTube video, audiobook, it could be anything, and I go for a run, I am always glad I did. 100% of the time. There's not a time that I went for a run or a bike and said, wow, I wish I didn't do that. It's just literally never happens. And I've never seen it happen in my practice either. So that's the thing. I complain about doing it. I don't necessarily want to do it. There are many other things I'd like to do. And to be honest, there's always more work for me to do, right? Or I could spend a little bit more time with my family. I could do all of these things, and they're all great excuses. But if I want this one thing and I'm willing to spend 30 minutes doing it, which I am, to get those benefits that accumulate over time, I have to do it, right? So I have to make it a habit. And what I wanted to share with you today is this, is that you don't even have to enjoy your habits, right? You don't have to enjoy them, but you get to enjoy the benefits. So for me, 20 to 30 minutes, even if it had to be indoors on a treadmill, 20 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, it's not a bad trade-off for being able to have the health that I do, the energy that I do, the mindset, the vitality, and hopefully the longevity, right? It's not a bad trade-off. So I just want to share with you that we don't always get to do everything we love all day long. I sometimes share that with my daughters too. I'm like, listen, life is something that should be enjoyed. You should love life. Do as many of the things that you can that at least are safe for you and do not harm others that you enjoy in your life. But there are going to be times in your life that you need to do things like homework, like practice, like anything else, right? You have to do those things in order to get all the other great things that come from that. So I always like to say this, and I'll share this, is that our brain always wants to keep us in a comfort zone. Right? It's just like, no need to exert energy. You should just rest right here, right? That's that old limbic part of the brain trying to keep us safe, keep us away from danger, not having to burn excessive calories because who knows when the next, famine will be here. Well, we don't necessarily, for most of us listening to this podcast, we don't necessarily live in those times anymore. So we have to be very careful listening to that voice inside of our head saying that, hey, take the easy way out today, right? Take it easy today. Don't overexert. And you have to tell yourself that not today, right? Not today, because tomorrow I will suffer the regrets of not having done what I should have done today. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. And of course, please always do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve.